I want to tell you about a story involving the great Eldersky and Harvey Weinstein. This took place some years ago. A buddy of mine is the editor of Daily Variety. He was then. Invited me to some sort of anniversary party they were having. Wine and cheese thing. I go there, maybe 30, 40 people are there. And everyone's talking and chatting amicably. And up comes Harvey Weinstein, who I'd never met. I knew who he was. And my friend, the editor, Peter Bart, said, "Harvey, this is Larry Elder. Larry Elder's a friend of mine." Harvey said, "I know who you are. You're that guy that supports the war. You know, George W. Bush lied about the war, don't you?" Now, as I said, this is a cocktail little thing, so I let it go. But he didn't let it go. I said, "George W. Bush lied about the Iraq war. You know that, don't you?" I let it go. He said it the third time. At that point, I said, "Okay, it's on." I said, "All right, Harvey, tell me how he lied." There's a Rob Silverman commission, bipartisan, looked into the intel leading up to the war. Nobody lied. The intel was wrong, but nobody lied. A lie is an intent to deceive. Tell me where the lie was, Harvey. Harvey said, "Well, everybody knows he lied." I said, "If everybody knows he lied, tell me what the lie was." There was a resolution that was passed by the Senate and passed by the House that said if Saddam Hussein doesn't fully and thoroughly disclose what he did with his WMD, then there could be war. Tell me where the lie was, Harvey. And Harvey started shaking and he walked away. And Peter said, "Wow, Larry, I've never heard anybody talk to Harvey Weinstein like that." I said, "What's he going to do to me? Not put me in his next movie?" Little did I know, I was talking to a criminal sex predator.
The scandal involving Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein has been in the headlines for the last few years. Here's how the scandal unfolded. It started with a piece in the New York Times. The article highlighted the allegations of several women claiming Weinstein sexually harassed them. Among them are actors Ashley Judd and Rose McGowan. More women then came out with their stories, including Gwyneth Paltrow and Angelina Jolie. And the next year, Uma Thurman also came out with her allegations against Weinstein, saying she was like an animal, wriggling away. Later that month, the New York Attorney General filed a lawsuit against the Weinstein Company on the basis it failed to protect its employees from alleged abuse.
More than 100 women have since opened up with sexual assault allegations against Weinstein, helping to spark the Me Too movement across Hollywood and other industries.
The defendant is before the court charged with 2 violent B felonies for 2 separate forcible sexual assaults against 2 different women.
In May 2018, Weinstein was arrested by the NYPD and indicted on charges by 2 women of rape, criminal sex act, sex abuse, and sexual misconduct. The allegations about Weinstein's casting couch behavior bring to light a practice that's been common throughout Hollywood over the years.
Harvey Weinstein is sentenced to 16 years in prison for sex crimes in Los Angeles. It comes as Weinstein is currently serving a 23-year sentence in New York City, where he was convicted of rape and sexual assault in 2020. The LA sentencing follows Weinstein's trial in December, where a jury found him guilty on 1 count of rape and 2 counts of sexual assault.
More than 80 women have made allegations of sexual harassment and or rape against Weinstein. My guest is the most celebrated lawyer in America and a friend I've known for 30 years. We disagree about most things politically, but we agree about colorblind justice. I call her Super Glow Gloria Allred. Gloria, he got away with this for a long, long time.
Yes, Larry, and thank you very much, Sage from South Central, for inviting me to be a guest on this topic today. He did, and actually out of the more than 100 women who came forward, he actually was only convicted of crimes against 3 of them. 2 in New York, one of whom I represented, Mimi Haley. He was convicted of criminal sexual assault of her and sentenced to 20 years for her. And then another woman I didn't represent in New York, he was convicted of 3rd-degree rape of that person and sentenced to 3 years for her, for a total of 23 years. That, of course, is a conviction that he is appealing, and the highest court in New York, which is called the New York Court of Appeals, has agreed to hear his appeal, and we expect oral argument likely to take place this summer for the New York case. As to California, he was just recently convicted of 3 felonies in reference to Jane Doe number 1. I don't represent her, but he was convicted of 3 felonies, but not as to other Jane Does. The felonies that he was convicted of resulted in a sentence of 16 years. So he will also be appealing from that conviction and that sentence as well. That's where we are. We'll see what the courts do. Of course, many victims are a little nervous given that Bill Cosby's criminal sentence after having been convicted and also having served some time in custody was ultimately vacated, right. Which, of course, a decision I disagree with, but that was then. And now we're moving on here. I did also have a civil lawsuit against Bill Cosby that we filed in Santa Monica for a client who alleged she was sexually abused when she was a child by Bill Cosby when she was 16 years old in 1975 at the Playboy Mansion here in Southern California. And we were successful in persuading the jury that he should be found liable for that sexual battery of a child. So that, he's going to be appealing from that as well. So we are proceeding. The Me Too movement is alive and well and living in Los Angeles, and for that matter, throughout the country. I'm hearing from rape, sexual assault, and child sexual abuse victims every day from some part of this country, from right. women and sometimes children, those under 18, who want to do something about it, not just talk to the press. And I know the press doesn't like confidential settlements. That's their problem, not mine, because I have to do what my clients want. And not everybody wants to have the world know that they were rape victims or child sexual abuse victims. And if they do want the world to know, they could still have a confidential settlement, and they could still go to the police, and they still could have their case prosecuted and testify publicly if charges are filed. So that's where we are now. And I'm just very proud to represent victims who are so courageous and are willing to help the cause of justice, even if they weren't the victims, or if they were, and testify in a court of law if necessary.
Got a question for you. Are you concerned with stock market volatility?
Markets closing in on their worst year since the financial crisis.
Since 2020, the Dow closed down more than 1,100 points.
Financial markets had their worst day since the start of the pandemic.
Do you really trust this economy?
The U.S. economy could be headed for a recession.
Tonight, the alarming spike in inflation soaring to its highest level in nearly 40 years.
What if you can invest in a portfolio with a high fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market? Well, you can turn your monthly income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose, and get this, there is no loss of principal if you need your money back, and absolutely no fees. Just log on to investwhyrefi.com. Folks, I personally invest with my own money with YRefi. So log on to investwhyrefi.com or call 888-YREFI24. That's 888-YREFI24. Gloria, are there more Harvey Weinsteins in this industry as we speak?
Absolutely, yes. You notice I said that, Larry, without one moment of hesitation, because, and we know who they are. We don't know all of them, but we know the ones who have victimized people who contact us, and that's a number of them. And actually, now, it's really about abuse of power, Larry. Those who are in power against those who are not. Those who are in power, often predators, they often will victimize not just one woman, maybe more. And we've also represented men who have been victimized by other men sexually, and men who've been victimized by women, and all of that. So every combination you could think of, women victimized by other women, there's just so much of it. But I'm saying it's not just limited to Hollywood, although that's where most of the public attention is. It's also high-level people in business, Wall Street, religious, leaders who sexually victimize, people in their, parishes or, other places of worship. So it's in the sports world, of course. I represent a number of women who allege that they were victims of Cuba Gooding Jr. I don't think we have enough time to talk about what happened in that criminal case in New York and my civil case against him. But what I can say is this, it's a never-ending situation. But the bad news is victimization still going on. The good news is victims are doing something about it.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. In some cases, victims, in fact, go to the police. The police either don't do anything, or they do something that's not effective, or they fear that they won't be believed. The other person is too powerful. So a lot of victims, for all sorts of reasons, do not go to the police.
Well, that's absolutely true. And they don't have to. They're not required to go to the police. But it's an option. As you point out, however, Larry, even if they do go to the police, of course, the police may not believe them, or they may fear they won't be believed if they go to the police. And they're human beings too, police. Some of them get starstruck. Some of them want to help the celebrity, not necessarily the victim. We saw that in the situation where one of my clients, who's unfortunately now deceased, Phyllis Gottlieb, who filed a police report, and then one of the high-level commanders, essentially let CBS and Les Moonves know that that someone had come to the police station with a report of a sexual assault against him. So trying to have confidence to let my clients feel that they can have confidence in law enforcement, which most of the time they can, but sometimes they can't. And, that's very hard for the criminal justice system to work unless victims can have confidence in the system. And of course, we hear about it when it's bad. We don't usually hear about it when it works. So there's complexity in all of this. But what I like to do for victims is lay out all the options. Not necessarily in this order, but lawsuit, confidential settlement without a lawsuit, going to the police, doing a combination of the above, doing some but not all, benefits and risks. What people ask me, well, can I just say on the internet, this celebrity, this movie star, rape me? That's what I want to do. I want to warn other women. And, I have to tell them, you could do that. You have the right of free speech, but then you can also be sued. So you have to weigh all this and decide what the best course is for you, looking at the benefits and risks.
Gloria, isn't one of the risks that if there is a prosecution against a Harvey Weinstein or a Bill Cosby, the victim's character is going to be attacked and she's going to be put on trial about her background?
Well, absolutely. Not only in the trial necessarily. We had a situation the other day in a case that's in federal court where the celebrity's attorney said something that we feel is not the whole truth, let's put it that way, to the press while this lawyer was in court with my co-counsel, and essentially smeared my client. And, we're not going to be starting to talk about evidence because we are very careful about complying with all the rules of federal court, state court, ethical rules as well. But what was said is out of context and portrayed our client in a light that was not favorable to her, and essentially was what you said, an attempt to smear her. Well, it's not going to deter her. It's not going to deter us. And we're looking forward to presenting the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth in the court of law in reference to the witnesses they say that they have. And we'll see what the jury says. We have some interesting things to reveal about these so-called witnesses. Let's put it that way. But we'll wait. We'll wait till it's time.
Finally, Gloria, let's talk about where Harvey Weinstein is. He's incarcerated. What kind of conditions? Is he in one of these country club places, or is he doing hard, serious, ugly time?
Well, as far as I know right now, he would still be in the LA County jail. And the reason is because he's been sentenced, but the LA County District Attorney has not yet announced whether he is going to retry Mr. Weinstein for two of the Jane Does where he was not convicted of the charges against them. One of them is my client. She's Jane Doe number 2. And the jury came back 10-2 for conviction on my client's charges. By the way, my client also testified in New York, but there were no charges. She was kind of a Me Too witness there, or what they call in New York a Molyneux witness. Here, charges were filed for her, or sexual battery, because what she alleged actually happened in Beverly Hills, LA County. And then, of course, you know, there's Jane Doe number 4, who is Jennifer Newsom, the governor's wife. I don't know whether they're thinking of retrying that. That came back, the jury found 8-4 for conviction for her. So until that decision is made, my understanding is he's going to remain in LA, and that decision, I wouldn't be surprised if it was made this month very soon.
Isn't it interesting, Gloria, in the case of Bill Cosby, all of a sudden you see him with a walker. In the case of Harvey Weinstein, all of a sudden you see him with a walker. What is it? What is this with this walker thing?
Yeah, I don't know. But all I can say is Bill Cosby, the judge said he's invited if he wanted to come to the Santa Monica courtroom where we tried the case against him for our very brave client. He was welcome to do so. Or if he wanted to come in by Zoom, he could have done that. Okay.
Right.
He didn't do either. We did take his deposition way back many years ago. In any event, we were able to play some of his deposition. So in a sense, he was there because he was there by video. You know, his spokesperson said something afterwards. He was very happy about the result. Larry, how many people do you know that would be happy about a jury finding that he had sexually battered a child? Right. I don't know any, and I don't know why Bill Cosby would be so happy about that.
And I believe one of his supporters even said he had been vindicated. He wasn't vindicated. It was a technicality. The idea was that he had agreed to admit that what he was doing in exchange for no further prosecution, something to that effect. And so they essentially said that the prosecutor violated that deal that he had entered into. But in no way, shape, or form was he exonerated or vindicated.
Okay, well, let me just say something about that, as they would say. I was talking about the civil case, you're talking about the criminal, but that's fine because both are relevant. In reference to the criminal case, what the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania found was that there had been a deal prior to this prosecution that resulted in the conviction, actually, second trial of Bill Cosby, that a prior prosecutor had somehow made a deal with Cosby. Well, if you testify in the civil case of Andrea Constant, who was the victim, that we won't prosecute you. Because, of course, he would take the fifth if he was being prosecuted. They declined prosecution. Supposedly there was a deal. But then under a new DA, there was another prosecution. Well, here's what I have to say about that. First of all, a lower court found there was no deal. Also, both sides had to agree there was no deal in writing, okay? And yet, Supreme Court found there was a deal. I think that I don't agree with them, obviously. They set aside, they did what's called vacating the conviction. So yeah, he wasn't vindicated, you're right, as often you are. I won't say always because I can't hear every show. But anyway, so I'm just being conservative. Maybe this is the only time you've heard me being conservative, but I am sometimes, especially interpreting the law. But
I know it's a tough word for you, conservative.
Actually, conservative is not tough for me. But, you know, not every conservative is an extremist. And not every extremist is a conservative. So,
okay.
Anyway, all I can say is I'm okay with conservatives. Some of my best friends are conservatives. I'm not sure if I'd want to marry one, but anyway. On the other hand, I don't want to marry a liberal either, so I don't want to get married. Do you?
So. Is that a proposal? I'm single.
No, it's not. Gloria Steinem once said, and they said to her, "Why don't you want to get married? Why have you never gotten married?" And she said, "Because I don't think I could breed in captivity." So,
although
she did
Ms.
end
Steinem
up
later on
married.
Get married, yes,
she did, but she didn't breed at that time.
Moral to the story: never say never. Gloria, thank you for coming on.
All right,
thank you for coming on.
Always fun. Thank you, Larry. Bye-bye.
God bless. What's that? The great Eldersky has in his baby brown libertarian fingers a pair of My Pillow, My Slippers. I do. And they come in different colors and they come in different styles. So if you don't like this one, I can't imagine why. You can choose a different style. All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. And this, of course, is the thing that started it all, the My Pillow, or is that redundant? And now there's a My Pillow 2.0. You've never slept on anything more comfortable. All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. And by the way, there are over 100 products. This is the 6-pack set of towels, as you can see, that work. Why? Mike found out that they put some chemical in this stuff to make towels. So you go to these stores, you see towels that look good, feel good, but they don't work. They don't absorb the water. These actually work. They absorb the water. They come, of course, in different colors. There are over 100 products that you can get on MyPillow by calling that number or by going to mypillow.com. And finally, this is the Giza Dream Bedsheet. Giza is an area of Egypt where the finest cotton in the world can be found. And Mike scoured around the world to make sure that was the case. Mine is in white because, after all, I am the black face of white supremacy, but you're not. You may want a different color. And, of course, they come in different sizes because beds come in different sizes. Again, over 100 products. Call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. That's mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. Now, I know you enjoy the show, so please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and scroll down and get on our mailing list, because for reasons that confound us, every now and then, YouTube has an issue with our videos. I don't know why, but to make sure you don't miss any, get on our mailing list. Also, you see that round donate button, hit that, throw a little something in the tip jar to make sure we can still give you hard-hitting programming. Remember, LarryWithEpoch.com, Larry with EPOCH.com. I'm Larry Elder. This has been the Larry Elder Show for Epoch Times. Remember, we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time.